Hi, I'm Doris Henderson. I am a member at Sager Creek Community Church in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. And we usually do this as a live event, a live ladies event, sometime in November usually. But with the pandemic and all the things that are going around, we decided that we would just video. I've never done just videoing, especially talking to an empty room. So Megan Dees is videoing for me, and started to say taping, so that would have aged myself, but we're videoing, I guess that's what I say. And we are going to concentrate for 15 minutes on 3 recipes for a small gathering at Thanksgiving. And we want to call it a small gathering for Thanksgiving. And so I wanted to show you that you can, with all the recommendations of people, staying small, staying home, I wanted to show you that you can make not an elegant Thanksgiving meal, but a wonderful Thanksgiving meal, tasty Thanksgiving meal, and maybe put a little different spin on the Thanksgiving meal, because in the past years, I think we've done it for 2 years now, we've done our traditional turkey and dressing and gravy and mashed potatoes, and we've done ham and baked pineapple, and you have all those recipes. Well, today you're going to have a few more of our family recipes, but also some recipes that I have borrowed from friends and colleagues when I worked in the school system. And so we're going to show you a couple different ways that you can prepare maybe something a little bit different. I know that our church has grown so much that I don't know all of you when I see you, and especially now when we see each other with masks on. We may not know each other, and so I just want to tell you that we have been at Sager Creek for 20 years now. Seems impossible. I'm married to Ron. He's the guy who looks like Jim, the pastor. A lot of even the grandchildren and the nieces and nephews, when they're small, will run to Jim thinking it's Ron, and Ron thinking it's Jim. So that's funny thing in our family. I have 2 children, Aaron Henderson and his lovely wife Brittany, and their 3 children, Caleb, Hattie, and Hazel. And then I have a daughter, Ashton Charlotte. She's married to Mark. They have 3 lovely children, Caston, Kofi, and Atticus. And we are a very close-knit family. We're going to have Thanksgiving together with Jim and Barb and Julie and Johnny, our other side of the Henderson family. And we might actually eat some of the stuff that I'm making today. So, without further ado, we're going to start. Megan asked me to do this a couple years ago, and I was very excited. I was a little bit nervous, but very excited. But then when she started talking about maybe doing a little devotional with it, that makes me nervous. I can cook all day long and I can talk about food, but when you ask me to do something that it is spiritual in nature, I have to really pray about what I'm going to say and make sure that I'm saying the right thing. Today, luckily, she can edit me. So if I say something completely crazy, she can edit me right out. But the book that I was using for devotional, and I told Megan this morning, when I get a new book, I've had this for a while, and of course when I get a new devotion book, I just read right through it. I don't wait and do it one day at a time because I want to see what's in there. And this caught my attention because it's about food. And it actually has recipes on a daily devotional. And it also has some little sub chapters in there. But it is by Katie Farrell. She's the author of Dashing Dish, and this is called Delicious Devotions. But I wanted to share some of her ideas as we go along, not lengthy. But one of the verses that she had in her prayers for health says, and then I can put my glasses on. Today I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. I thank you that through you I can be victorious in everything I do. And that includes cooking. So with that beginning, I want to show you our first recipe. Our first recipe is called Shrimp and Artichoke Dip. It is a revised or adapted recipe from my friend Missy. She is a wonderful, wonderful cook who has run a catering business for a long time, many years, decades. And this is a huge, when you get the recipe, you will see it is a huge recipe for a large gathering. But I'm going to cut it back for a small gathering. And so I wanted to show you that in the recipes. You can take a recipe and you can adapt it to whatever you need it to be. It's not difficult to do. You can do as little or as much of the ingredients as you want. In this one, it has, Parmesan cheese, spinach. It has mayonnaise, if you're not a big mayonnaise fan. Sometimes you have to go with what they have on the recipe just simply for it to be able to hold together. So this recipe, we're going to serve it hot. She serves it with crab sometimes, but the crab was way expensive when I went to get it for just a little can. The smaller cans were already sold out. So I just went ahead and got tiny shrimp. And you could put chicken. You can put just about anything in this dip and it's very adaptable. So make it flexible. If your family enjoys shrimp, it's wonderful in it. If your family likes the seafood, it can pretty much be any seafood. I've not tried ham or pork or anything like that, or beef. I would stick more with turkey or chicken, but this would be something that you could make with canned chicken. So that would be an idea too. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to use my food processor to do all this, to mix it all up. And then I'm going to place it in the baking dish, and then we're going to cook it. So we're going to start with the artichoke hearts. And I do need to drain these, Megan. Forgot to do that. We tried to have everything on deck here so that we wouldn't have to spend any time doing that. But I did forget to do the artichoke hearts. But what I bought was just 1 can of plain artichoke hearts, and you do not want the ones that are in the oil. I have made it with the ones in the oil when I couldn't find these, but it's a little less greasy if you just use the ones that are not in the oil. I'm just going to place all those in my food processor. And then you have, in the recipe, you have 30 ounces of chopped spinach. Okay, spinach cooks down. And so for me, you can have too much spinach, but in this recipe, I definitely would use the whole. I used to be a box of spinach. Now it's the loose bag of spinach, which is much easier. You do not have to let it thaw as long. And then with the box spinach, if you do get I don't even know if they still make the box spinach, but if you do get the box spinach, you do have to put it under water and squeeze it out to make sure it's good and dry. With this frozen spinach in the bag, you do not have to do that because it's frozen individually leaved. So I'm going to put the whole thing in there. It's going to be very green. And then I'm going to add this recipe calls for 1 quart of mayonnaise. Okay, so I'm basically making 1/3 of this recipe. So this would be 1 quart of mayonnaise. So if you did this by thirds, all I have to do is take 1/3 of this out. And we're going to measure that. And Megan, that's something else I forgot to get was a measuring cup.
In the drawer right in front of you.
Right in front of me, okay? Oh, perfect. Nice little green ones. They're going to look pretty on the camera. So, and a spoon. Right, got it. This is perfect. So, just thinking that we're going to use about 1/3 of this jar. I'm betting that it's going to be right at a cup. Those of you who know all the cup measurements of quarts and pints and all that good stuff should know that a pint is 2 cups. The little milk cartons are 1/2 pint and they're 8 ounces. So this is 8 ounce, a cup would be a pint. And so we're using about 1/3 of the mayonnaise, and so that is what we have to put in there. Probably, maybe just 1 little thing more, because we definitely want this to hold together. The mayonnaise is the glue. All right, garlic salt. We're just going to salt it to taste. I love garlic salt, so I probably am kind of heavy-handed with garlic salt. I think probably a teaspoon of garlic salt would be what you would put in here. And sometimes I measure and sometimes I don't. And then we have drained an entire package, 12-ounce package of baby shrimp, very extra small shrimp. And they're already deveined, they're already peeled, the tail's already been cut off. So they're just, all you get is the shrimp meat. And there is 12 ounces, so it's like a cup and a half, and you're not gonna get quite that much, actually, when you get it in there. And you just pour that in. This is one of those recipes, basically one and done. You mix it together and it's ready to go. All right, and then we are going to pulse it. This is gonna be loud. I'm pulsing it is because if you just chop it for a long time, it's going to really liquefy the bottom. And so if you pulse it, you'll see it drawing the ingredients down into the middle. And you don't want this to be just, you know, mixed. Okay, after I pulse it, I'm going to add my cheese. And I have, you can use this kind of Parmesan cheese, which we're going to put on top, but you can also use, I love this, I get it at Sam's, shaved blend. It has Asiago, Parmesan, and Romano cheese in it. It's very stinky, but it's wonderful to cook with. And I believe it says, for her recipe, it says a large Parmesan, shredded Parmesan cheese. This is grated. So shredded is the kind that actually comes in bags like this, but they're small. And so if you're looking for a large Parmesan cheese shredded for this recipe, that's going to be about 16 ounces. And so we're going to use probably about a cup and a half of this. I'm not going to measure. Well, yes, I am. Because if you want it cheesier, you can make it cheesier. So I'm going to do 2 cups. And I do that to say, you can't mess it up really. I mean, if you're fearful of mixing stuff up and you're going, but I only have 1/4 of a cup and I need 1/3 of a cup, or you know, you don't want to dash it or add a ton more than what it calls for. But you're not going to mess it up if you're flexible with your recipe. And then I'm going to pulse this just a little bit more. Did not pulse it all the way because I wanted to keep some of the cheese a little bit whole. And then you're going to stir it up. All that good shrimp, spinach, cheese. Can't go wrong with those ingredients. Then I'm going to pan my serving dish. This is my baking and my serving dish. And just pour it in there. Now, if we would have followed the recipe that you're going to see online, you would have 3 times this amount. And it would fit into a large pan, like one of those large disposable pans, because it was for a big crowd. But we wanted to do it for a small gathering, so we're going to use just a regular, it's not quite a 9 by 13, it's probably an 8 by 10. And you'll see it's oval, so it's not quite as full, not quite as large as a small one, or as a rectangle 9 by 12. And then I'm just going to sprinkle Parmesan cheese on top. And then through the miracle of video, we're going to put this in the oven at 350 until it bubbles.